Thanks again for tuning in. The article featured today, along with others, can be found in this week's issue of Fringe, available now on Amazon Kindle. You know, I've always loved a good mango, but not as much as these people. Let's get right into it. A large crowd has already gathered by the time you arrive. They wouldn't notice you were among the last to show, would they? You had heard a man the next village over had been shot for not showing proper reverence. Your heart beats hard in your chest as you work through the crowd. Your neighbors, your friends, their faces matched your own, eyes wide with a strange panic, anticipation, and apprehension. A young girl stops you as soon as you push your way to the front. Her face is radiant, but still sharp with that Red Guard fanaticism, as cute as a teddy bear filled with bees. In her arms, on a silk pillow, she holds the holy item, a withered bit of yellowish fruit, one of the mangoes Mal had gifted to them. Your mouth is dry, and your hands tremble as you reach out for just a touch. When your fingertips are almost able to graze the dried skin, you freeze and look back at the young girl, who just nods in approval. Finally, you touch the fruit, a blessing from the great leader himself. Your brother-in-law was badly beaten for trying to take a bite of the mango, and 2 other members of the town were hung for complaining about how long the ceremony was taking. Fools, those 2 were, you think, as you run your fingers together, trying to memorize every detail of how the mango had felt. Had perhaps Mao himself touched where you had? You are a member of one of China's strangest cults, Mao's cult of the mango. In the end, hundreds would die at the hands of the cult, victims of a radical devotion with nowhere to go. In order to understand how that could even happen, how a cult could form around mangoes, of all things, and end with a trail of bodies, we first have to look at how much control Mao had over China and her people. Age would only ever be a physical hurdle for Mao Zedong, China's infamous communist leader. Time chewed at his body but did nothing to his mind. Even as his physical health dwindled, he continued to pit political rivals and parties against each other. His mechanizations to remain in power culminated in one of the bloodiest periods of Chinese history, the Cultural Revolution. Students all across China, having been brainwashed on a steady diet of Maoism rhetoric and armed with his Little Red Book, were ready to answer this call for change. A change of the old system, a cutting out of the capitalist ideals that inflected their perfect communist utopia. When Mao gave his signal, the youth rose up in a powerful Red Guard and answered with blood. 1966 saw some of the worst of the Red Guard's atrocities. Anyone Mao had deemed not communist enough, anyone against his views for China, was seen as a traitor, a part of the old that must be torn away. University professors, monks, and landlords were targeted, as well as any person who spoke out against their great leader. They were stripped and bound, made to wear about their necks long planks of wood or sheets with their supposed crimes detailed on them. They were made to give apologies over and over, to beg for forgiveness, before being beaten. Sometimes these beatings would be so severe that the accused would die. Hundreds of these struggle sessions, as the Guard came to call them, happened every day. Mock trials were held for teachers, and there were fake proceedings with very real hangings. Highly intelligent men and women would be surrounded by hundreds of screaming youth, mocked and humiliated for days on end. This horror went on unchecked until Mao, satisfied that those who opposed him were silenced, finally stepped in. Qinghao University, located in Beijing, seemed to house a large number of the Red Guard leaders. Leadership was very fractured due to infighting. Different extreme takes on Mao's views fought to be the driving thought of the revolution. Mao sent in a group of some 40,000 industrial workers to crush the Guard. At first, they attempted to convince the students to stand down. After all, they were really on the same side, weren't they? This attempt was met with acid attacks and violent retaliation that resulted in 5 dead and over 700 wounded. In the end, Mao had to send in a detachment from the army, and the youth surrendered. How would their great leader reward them for their service? With a mass exile to the countryside, they had served their purpose. While the Red Guard would hold on in one form or another until Mao's death in 1976, they were never able to regain their full strength. As a reward for their help, Mao gifted the factory workers a crate of some 40 mangoes he had received as a gift from the ambassador to Pakistan. That was where the insanity began. You see, these workers were only very recently literate. Before Mao's Great Leap Forward, where he would increase access to education and health care for millions who had not had access to it before, they had been simple peasant farmers. None of them had even seen a mango before. So here they were, given a gift by a figure that demanded almost godlike reverence, but no instructions on what to do with it. What did the strange fruit even mean? Some took the mango as a symbol. With the Red Guard no longer in favor, it was up to the workers to continue to spread Mao's will. Others saw it as a sign that the atrocities of the Cultural Revolution were finally over. Whatever they believed, one thing was sure: those mangoes were special. Some factory workers took their mangoes and soaked them in formaldehyde to preserve them. They were then paraded around the cities and towns for all to see. Some ate their portion of the fruit and provided wax replicas. Then people got real weird with it. One group of workers decided to boil their mango in a big pot so that Mao's essence could be distilled. Once infused with that stone fruit goodness, the workers lined up and each took a drink, like some parody of a Holy Communion. Once mango mania began to grow outside the industrial workers, China's cultural office was quick to respond. Not above a little cash-in, the government began to produce numerous mango-themed items, anything from mango cups and plates to medallions, and even flavored cigarettes. People couldn't get enough. Soon, mango floats were added to state-funded parades and began to appear in propaganda posters. There was also a film about Mao's glorious gift, but it has been sadly lost to time. What remained of the now disgraced Red Guard gravitated to the cult. It wasn't long before citizens began to see that familiar red star cap and sash whenever the mangoes were brought out. If a person failed to show enough awe at the sight of the fruit, they were violently beaten. There was one account of a man who simply said the mango looked like a sweet potato. Couldn't see what all the fuss was about. They shot that man dead. Any dissent was met with brutal retaliation. Soon the mango became a means of weeding out further undesirables. It was seen as preferable to be beaten in retaliation for showing too much love for the mango than not enough. As their great leader continued to age, the mango cult began to fall apart. Like a fad diet, people just stopped caring about the mango after a while. There was no epic, bloody last stand of mango cultists against Red Army grunts, just a gradual disinterest in the fruit that many had killed over. The mango cult had been formed around a directionless devotion to a cult of personality. So when Mao finally died in 1976, the mango died with him. There had been one last-ditch attempt at reviving the mango craze by Mao's widow, Jiaqing, who had been quite powerful during the Cultural Revolution, to swing that into taking over after her husband's death. She attempted to revitalize the fruit hysteria by incorporating the symbol into her own propaganda campaign. This did not work, and she was eventually arrested for her crimes during the Cultural Revolution. Today, mangoes can be found in most supermarkets in China. Now this is just a little something from me to you. What a fucking life. You wake up, swing your legs out of bed, and sit there a second and think, this shit again? How many more times are you going to get out of this bed? And that gets you thinking. Thinking about the minutes, the hours, the days, the weeks, the years. God, how many more years? Imagine a decade. How would that be when even the hours go on forever? Then, you get up, you take a shit, you get a coffee, and you do it all over again. Snake eats tail. You go to work, or you don't. You get drunk, or stoned, or fucked up, or whatever your poison is. You find some broken-hearted little thing, someone who has gone around this rock long enough to know those fairy tale endings were a lie, who just wanted someone to love them. Now you've got this drunk soul all jagged and broken, and suddenly sharp bits pierce each other in just the right ways, and you can almost feel whole again. What a fucking life. Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed my work and want to show some support, I'd deeply appreciate it. My books can be found on Amazon.com. I do have a Patreon and Ko-Fi at Ari Brewster. You can find me in all the usual places. Links below. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm out. Good night. Good morning.
I'm so broke. Yeah, I'm so broke. This dollar won't last. I'm in dire need of cash, 'cause I'm so broke. I'm so broke. Yeah, I'm so broke. No food to eat. I'll sell pictures of my feet. so broke.